you.
Okay.
Yeah, I can go for it.
Kit, come forward, Kit. You'll be...
I just want to know if Sarah's done.
Start with a joke.
It's a long time ago now, James.
Right, thank you.
Kia ora tātou, my name's Kit Doudney. I'm the chairperson of the Avon, Heathcote, Estuary, Ihutai Trust. We were set up in 2002 and 2003 to represent the community's ideals for a better estuary and to try and restore the Māori to that area of Christchurch. We're really pleased to be supported by both you guys as council and Environment Canterbury, and we have memorandums of understanding with both of your esteemed organisations. One of the things we have submitted on, however, is that in the last 10 years, our grant from the council to undertake our work, we're all volunteers on my board, but we do have a part-time, half-time manager, the incredible Tanya Jenkins. You may have heard of her. She organises the Motherall cleanups, Estuary Fest in concert with other community groups and has a real networking ability. We've been fortunate enough to get some funding from Christchurch City Council of $10,000 a year for the last 10 years, which in concert with the Environment Canterbury's grant of $20,000 a year, and Rata Foundation's $15,000 a year allows us to do what we do. And over those 10 years, the work of the Estuary Trust has increased incredibly, mainly to do with Tanya's abilities to do all these interacting sort of community work. We do the restoration of wetlands, for example, which you may be aware of, especially Charlesworth. But one of the things I wanted to ask you in the long-term plan is to find out whether you'd be prepared to increase our funding from $10,000 a year to $15,000 a year. We're under more and more pressure from Rata Foundation to reduce that funding, and this year we were unable to get the $15,000. We're down to 10 this year, and I'm worried that Tanya will be lost in this effort. And we're also going to Environment Canterbury in their long-term plan with the same request of an extra $5,000 a year to pay for Tanya's good work. So if you could consider that in your long-term planning, I would most appreciate it. As an adjunct to that, we also request that the council considers giving the estuary a dedicated park ranger. That is one of our last points in our submission. We'd really appreciate a go-to park ranger for everything to do with the estuary. At the moment, we have various access to a couple of park rangers, depending on which side of the estuary we're dealing with. So it'd be lovely to be able to actually have a park ranger dedicated to our work. I would like to finally mention one aspect of our submission, which is the Estuary Green Edge Pathway. As you'll be aware, the Coastal Pathway has been open since 2016. It's a marvellous asset to the community all the way along the south side of the estuary. And we also have the opening of the South Shore Red Zone Pathway, and that's being worked on at the moment and is open to the public for walking with their dogs and companion animals and things. So we really actually oppose the opening project, which is still underway by council, to open the third side of the estuary to humans and their companion animals. At the moment, this is right beside the estuary, between the estuary and the oxidation ponds, which is a wildlife refuge with dock status. Our birds on the estuary, as you'll be aware, they're shrinking every year in their number for every species. And this protected wildlife reserve is incredibly important to the habitat of these birds and other creatures. And the combination of moving between the estuary and the wildlife refuge is really important to keep humans away from that. So as part of the sort of idea of biodiversity, we'd really like to keep humans out of that area and just have it for the animals. So we would request that we rescind the Green Edge Pathway route from this very sensitive area to another more appropriate one, either through the middle of the ponds or back end of the ponds through Bromley area, which I think would be excellent. Thanks very much, councillors. Any questions?
Yes, Pauline.
Thank you. Look, we had a deputation this morning, a submission, and the lady said that occasionally people are allowed to go through there by permission. Do you also oppose that, or do you think it should be okay to do that if you get permission?
That can be okay if you get permission. For instance, occasionally the 360 trail pathway asks permission to go through, and that's fine. But what we really want is a restricted access to all of us, and mainly our dogs. We also get horses going across the estuary mudflats into the area, and it's the only reserve that the birds have got away from us and our activities.
Right, thank you.
So you'd be relatively comfortable if that was still based on a permission basis rather
Yeah.
than an open?
Yeah.
That's right,
The
yeah.
difference.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you.
No
Not a
problem.
permanent pathway.
No,
Thank
that's
thank
right.
you very much for your submission.
No problem.
Very
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.